The Centers for Disease Control has now confirmed 40 cases of swine flu in the U.S., while the Department of Health and Human Services takes the lead following President Obama's declaration of a public health emergency. Pentagon officials say they're focused on protecting the military population in case of a greater crisis. Petty Officer Christina Moore reports.
The U.S. military is monitoring the situation closely and, according to a Pentagon spokesman, has a number of contingency plans in place for health incidents like this one. The CDC has determined this strain, known as the swine influenza A H1N1 virus, is contagious and spreading from human to human.
If you have flu symptoms, if you have fever, aches, and cough, you should talk to your doctor and see what is the appropriate testing and treatment. They'll know. We're posting those guidelines, and depending on what's going on in your community, whether there's been travel to Mexico or contact with someone who has swine flu, they'll know what's best.
Dr. Richard Besser, the director for the Center for Disease Control, says the CDC has been stockpiling medicine for the past several years and has begun distributing that medication to different states in case it is needed. But Dr. Besser also said there are some things people can do to protect themselves from the swine flu virus.
It's important that people understand as they're getting ready to go to work or to school that there are things that we learned when we were little, covering a cough, not going out and being around others when you're sick, staying home when you have a fever. These things, frequent hand washing has been shown to reduce the likelihood you're going to get a respiratory infection. If people do these things, it will decrease the spread in our communities.
Much like its human virus cousin, the swine flu varies in severity, but the CDC's website, as well as the Military Health Services website, stresses if you have these symptoms, you should go to emergency care immediately. For adults, if you notice difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, pain or pressure in the chest or abdomen, sudden dizziness, confusion, or severe or persistent vomiting, any of these symptoms should be evaluated by your nearest medical treatment facility. From the Pentagon, I'm Petty Officer Christina Moore.
For more information, you can check your local installation hotline or go to dod.mil/pandemic-flu or cdc.gov/swine flu. Well, we told you the president remarked about the swine flu during his speech at the National Academy of Sciences. Turns out DARPA received a big nod from the commander-in-chief at that event. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency is DoD's Department of Inventions of sorts. For example, it was DARPA that teamed up with the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab to create this state-of-the-art prosthetic arm prototype. The president mentioned the agency, saying it's been a forward-looking organization since its creation during the Eisenhower administration.
It has been charged throughout its history with conducting high-risk, high-reward research. And the precursor to the internet, known as ARPANET, stealth technology, the global positioning system, all owe a debt to the work of DARPA.
DARPA was created after the Soviets launched Sputnik, moving them ahead of the U.S. in space exploration. The president's stimulus bill signed into law this February is creating some new jobs within the Department of Defense. Both the Office of the Inspector General and the Army Corps of Engineers are looking to hire. There will be around 40 openings at the Inspector General's office. Meanwhile, around 1,000 positions are expected to be filled at the Army Corps of Engineers. 78% of those positions are engineering positions. Other positions include park rangers, program analysts, and physical scientists. Most of the hires will be permanent as the Corps hopes to develop their next generation of workers. Coming up next, continued coverage of Alcohol Awareness Month, how the Pentagon is working to help those struggling with addiction. But first, Secretary Gates welcomes a team of new Pentagon leaders to the Five-Sided.